6 shocking things your home inspector will not check. Welcome to the channel, folks. My name is Joshua Smith. I'm a licensed real estate agent in Tennessee and Alabama. And today we're going to go over some things that your home inspector may not actually check in depth. It is something that I think pretty much every home inspector is going to touch on in their report, but they may just address it in different ways. So we're going to go over these topics. This comes straight from Realtor.com. It's actually a post from a couple of years ago, but I happened to run across it during some CE that I was taking. That's continued education. We have to do this to renew our licenses every couple of years. We have to take a bunch of continued education courses. So let's go ahead and dive right in and talk about things that your home inspector may or may not cover in their home inspection reports, shall we? What's up? My name is Joshua Smith. I'm with the Home Agent Group. I want to talk to you about what you're up to and how we can expand together.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and you can cut this in. What's the highlight of our entire trip?
6 shocking things your home inspector won't check, according to Realtor.com. Like I said, home inspectors do typically cover some version of these things, but this will also point out some of those things that you want to be sure your buyer's agent has taken care of as you lean into the inspection part of your transaction. So the first thing here that they have listed is electrical outlets behind heavy furniture. They use the example here that if there's a big china cabinet with a bunch of stuff in it, they're not going to move that out of the way to check one outlet behind it. They're just going to notate that they couldn't get there if they happen to even see that it's there. But they're not going to move a refrigerator. They're not going to move, big appliances and furniture that might be in the way of outlets. If there's an attic behind a big piece of furniture, sometimes in an upstairs room, they'll have attic access kind of low on the wall. And if there's a big piece of furniture in front of that they can't move, they're not going to be able to get into that portion of the attic. So you just want to make sure that you tell your agent, your buyer's agent, that you want those sellers to make everything accessible. Give me access to the electrical panels, to outlets wherever reasonable. If there is a big piece of furniture in front of one outlet, that's not that big of a deal. But if it's in front of the electrical panel, that's a problem. You want to be able to check the overall electrical situation in the house, as one example. Also, plumbing, they want access to all of the major appliances and utilities inside that structure in order to do a proper investigation and inspection of your home. So your buyer's agent should be handling this for you, but just for your peace of mind and so that ask for that. Ask for access to the crawl space, to the attic, to everywhere that there might be an underlying issue that the seller may or may not be aware of. Because that, at the end of the day, is what the inspection is looking for the most part, is latent defects that aren't immediately visible whenever you walk into a home. And it also helps provide a maintenance roadmap for what you should expect down the road. Next thing, roof. The roof. Home inspectors, this says that they're probably not going to climb up if it's too steep, if it's too tall. That is true. After 2 stories, 3 stories, larger houses, they may not be able to get up on all parts of the roof, or they might not be able to get up on the roof at all. They just don't carry a ladder big enough. I've actually run into home inspectors that don't get up on the roof at all, period. They inspect it from the ground, which is a reasonable inspection. You can see, for the most part, from the ground up to the peak, and notate any, flashing issues, buckling, rusting, or like I said, buckling, or the shingles are frayed and lifting in different areas. You can see all that pretty much from the ground with a pair of binoculars. So that's a reasonable enough way to inspect the home. But if they do see signs of age, wear, or anything questionable, they're just going to recommend that you bring in a roofing contractor to come and look at these things. So not that big of a deal that they don't do that. So far, I'm not that impressed by this list. Let's keep on going. Fireplace and chimney. This relates to the roof as well. What are they saying? Typically open and shut dampers to make sure they're working. Shine a flashlight up the chimney. Yeah. To check for big obstructions like a bird nest. Hopefully there's not a bird nest in the chimney. A chimney inspection, so this is funny. Gas fireplaces, they are going to check the function of the gas, make sure it will turn on, that it'll fire up like it's supposed to. They're not necessarily going to light a pilot if that fireplace hasn't been used. So if you want to make sure that it's been in use, you can ask the seller, just like everything else, to make sure that fireplace is functional. Or even ask the seller to do a fireplace inspection if they're unaware or haven't done an inspection of a fireplace. Have the seller hire a chimney sweep if they'll do that, especially if it's important to you. And in my opinion, if there's any question that it's been maintained, it's the seller's responsibility ultimately for having the fireplace there and not in use. If they're selling the house and it's got a fireplace, then try to put it on them to take care of that. But also, as a listing agent myself, I can see arguments on either side. So point being, the chimney sweep or a chimney company, a fireplace company, is the company that needs to come and check the functionality of the fire. Your home inspector's not going to light, like a wood burning fireplace, they're not going to light a log and let that burn during their home inspection. The thing might fill up the house with smoke, who knows? But they'll check the function of those flues and they'll make sure that it's as clean as it can look. And they will probably recommend that you hire Chim Chiru from Mary Poppins to come and check the thing out, because at the end of the day, that's his job, not theirs. And I see, the home inspector's job. What is the home inspector's role? Let's just talk about that real quick. The home inspector's role really is to let you know if all the systems function, the structure looks like it's intact, which I think we're going to get. Yeah, ground beneath your home is the very next one. It's not like they're not going to check underneath your house. They have to. They have to look all around the base of that foundation, and if they can get into a crawl space, they're going to do that. They're going to look at that earth beneath there if they can see that earth, if there's a vapor barrier down or not. They're going to notate all of these things that are important for the proper function of these parts, all these parts of the home. They can't pull insulation out of a floor joist to see the subfloor behind it necessarily, but from the top, if they, hear the floor squeaking around and there's a reason to look deeper into the subflooring there, they're probably going to notate that and say you need to get a licensed contractor to come in here and take a deeper look. But that's the home inspector's job, is to try to point out latent defects that aren't so obvious that the seller may not even be aware of. All the things that you didn't know you didn't even know that you didn't know. So that's kind of the point of the home inspector, is to do that deep dive and give you a report which can then be used to negotiate repairs and other things, but also as a roadmap for the maintenance of your home down the road as you become the new homeowner and need to know kind of where are these things. Wait, I think there were 3 panels in this house. Where's that third one? They're going to notate where all that stuff is and what should be looked at and paid attention to as a maintenance item now and down the road. All right. I think I just addressed ground beneath your home. They're definitely going to get under the house if they can. What is this? They say these professionals test for soil. Shifts, tilts, sinkholes, okay, yeah, well, I mean, the home inspector is not going to get out a test kit to test the soil under a house. If those kinds of things are important, if a survey is important, if it looks like there may be sinkholes in the property, the seller's unaware, but maybe you see a bunch of, big dips in the ground, it might be important to get a surveyor out there or see if you can find a plat map or something of that lot that notates these things, these changes and fluctuations of topography and whatever else. And if you have to dig a little bit deeper, just like with anything around a home inspection, you're probably going to have to hire a professional to come and take a look at that, or ask the seller to bring in a professional if those questions can't be answered during your regular inspections. Swimming pool. Yeah, swimming pools are kind of a unique topic. Spas, saunas, these are the kinds of things. The home inspector can turn it on and they can make sure that everything seems like it's working properly. But like, say it's wintertime, you have an above ground pool in Nashville, it's been winterized, so it's got a cover over and the pump's off. Home inspector's basically gonna say, hey man, I couldn't really do anything with this because I couldn't turn the pump on because it's been winterized, and I didn't want to break anything. So you might want to have someone come and inspect this pool at some point to make sure it works. There don't seem to be any leaks, whatever they can see and tell that's obvious, they're going to put in there. And they're just going to point you down the path of a contractor. Leslie Pools, Fox Pools. There's a lot of places that will come and do just general inspections and make sure everything functions. And then those people can probably take over a cleaning contract to help you out with that pool down the road too. That's, you know, good to know. Ask your agent, they'll know. Well and septic system. So yeah, you live out in the country or anywhere that's rural, you're getting well water. Well water is great to have. Well water septic systems are good to have. It's an independent sewer system, but it's a major part of the function of your plumbing and your sewer, your waste output from your house. So yeah, get a septic system tested. The home inspector is not going to get into any sort of intrusive activity. So they're not going to dig in the ground to check a septic system properly. Some states actually require septic systems are tested and functioning within 6 months of any transaction. They require this of the seller. It's kind of like how in Alabama, you have to have a termite letter and a termite inspection that has to be paid for by the seller. You know, there are different standards for different states, different areas, different local areas might have different standards for these things. But yeah, get the well water tested. If your main water supply, your potable water is all coming from underground, you want to make sure that there's no, you know, chicken waste coming off of those chicken farms in the backyard, or even though they're not that close to the house, they could still be in the groundwater, right? So there's labs that can do all that water testing for you and make suggestions about how to properly clean it, maintain it. You should be getting well water tested once a year for bacteria, every 2 to 3 years they should be getting tested for chemicals the EPA recommends, I believe. You can fact check me. I'm not gonna stand by that, but off the top of my head, I think that's right. What's the other thing? Oh yeah, septic systems. Yeah, septic systems should be serviced. I think it's 5 or 6 years. It probably depends on the size of the system. But you know, you can go and look up those septic records, make sure that it was installed properly with a permit. And if your area doesn't do permitting necessarily, you know, at minimum, always get that thing tested and make sure that it's operable and working. Flushing the toilet's not gonna tell you whether or not the septic system's gonna leak necessarily. It might, hopefully not. Is that it? Those are the 6 things? We covered all 6 things. There you go. Is there anything else I could think of that would add to this list? I mean, anytime you get into any specific questions about foundation, little cracks, hairline cracks, not that big of a concern. But if there's a real structural, looks like there's some real shifting going on, there's big cracks in the concrete in a slab of a home or in a driveway, it might be worth getting it could be a structural engineer, but it's probably just a foundation company. There's a lot of companies that have those guys on staff, and those contractors can come out and just take a look at it and say, you know what, we can fix this, raise that, lower that, put a couple new bricks here, whatever. It's often not as big a problem as you would think it might be, and hopefully that's always the case. But it is the case sometimes that just that one little hairline crack or that one little thing that you thought was no big deal could end up being a $20,000 expense down the road because it is an underlying issue with water under the ground or whatever it might be. I don't know. Never be afraid to go look at a house in the rain. If your home inspection is scheduled on a rainy day, that's a good thing because you can see where the water goes on the property. I always tell everybody that. Do I have any other inspection advice? I don't know. Watch more videos. I've got plenty more videos on this topic. You can go dive into the YouTube abyss and find more. But hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully it's helpful enough that you might send it off to somebody else. You might like, you might subscribe, and I might see you again here soon. Hopefully that's the case. I will see you in the next video.